I cannot tell you guys how excited I am to be back. I haven't actually sat here and filmed a video for you in about 2 weeks, and I'll tell you in just a second where I've been, but I'm really happy to be back and kick things off with the first Hermes / luxury Q&A of 2024. If you've been with me for a while, you know the drill. These are the videos where I try to address all your Hermes questions, concerns, and dilemmas. And obviously I am not the be-all and end-all of Hermes. I am just one of your friends who appreciates luxury shopping and Hermes as much as you do. And as always, I asked you over on my Instagram and also on YouTube to send me some of your questions. And I haven't officially counted them, but it seems like we have like a couple hundred questions here, which I'm so incredibly grateful for. So if you'd like to sit back and chat about anything and everything Hermes luxury, we have some non-Hermes related questions. We have questions on inserts, on the role, Louis Vuitton, Bottega, luxury shopping, luxury traveling. So we have a lot to uncover today. So if this sounds interesting to you and you'd like to have just a good old luxury chat with one of your virtual friends, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on marching. Before we get into talking about Hermes, there are a few questions on what are you studying, how did your exam go? Not a luxury question, but would love to hear you talk about how you're enjoying your studies. I'm curious where you've been. So I thought I would address where I've been for the past 2 weeks, because I did have, I think I uploaded one video each week, but those are videos I filmed. They were supposed to go up not last week, but the week before. Anyway, long story short, I was studying for an exam, and I had an exam this past weekend, which if you have not seen, I think it was the first video of 2024 that I did addressing some of your assumptions about me. And in that video, I mentioned that I am planning on going back to school in September. I would like to get a second bachelor's in clinical psychology, and I'm planning on going back to school in the Netherlands, where psychology is something that they call, I think it's called the numerus fixus program, meaning that they only have very limited spots available at each college. And in order for you to get in, you don't have to submit an essay. You do have to submit your transcript and your grades, but they don't really take those into consideration, at least not as much as a college entry exam. So they basically ask everyone who applies to their psychology course to take the same standardized test, and each college has their own test. So I just did one this past weekend for one of the colleges that I'm applying to, and they selected neuropsychology as the topic for the test. So we had a week to study. Basically, we had to memorize 110 pages, and then we were asked to answer some questions in the test. So I was studying for that, which honestly, I feel like I did pretty well. It was a lot more difficult than I expected, but apparently I didn't know this, but it is one of the most difficult entry exams that they have in the Netherlands, the one that I just did on Saturday, which this is just something that I was told. I'm not sure if that's really the case, because this was the first test that I did. And then I have another one coming up in a couple of weeks, which I'm not as stressed about as I was about this first one. But I think the exam went pretty well. I know that I made a couple of mistakes, which the moral of this story is to trust your instinct, because one of the big mistakes that I did is, long story short, there was a cell biopsy, and as soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what it was. And I finished the test. At the end of the test, I had like 15 minutes left, so I went back to review some of my answers, and when I landed on this question on the cell biopsy, I started doubting myself, because even though I knew exactly what it was, I couldn't remember that particular biopsy being in the book that we were asked to study. So I thought that maybe it was a trick question, because why would they ask about something that wasn't actually presented in the lecture and that wasn't in the book that we had been given. So I ended up changing my answer and submitted the test. As soon as I was done, I ran to get my book to check some of my answers that I could remember. And of course, I changed it to the wrong answer, because there was the tiniest itty bitty little picture of that cell, which I knew from the very beginning what it was. So what I'm trying to say here is trust your instinct, but that's what I have been doing. I've been studying for that exam, and I just took my first exam, and then I'll have another one coming up in a couple of weeks. So I might disappear again, but I won't be gone for long, definitely not more than a week. And I'll still try to keep you posted either on my Instagram, and I will try to do at least one video a week, because yeah, I don't want to leave you guys hanging. So that's where I've been. And for those of you who checked in with me, send me DMs, send me questions here. Just know that I really appreciate you checking in with me. I will not get the results until April, which is kind of annoying, but I also understand because my score on its own doesn't mean anything. I can get 100%, but if everyone else gets 100%, it gets graded on a bell curve. So my score is relative to everyone else's. So I guess they have to wait for everyone to take the test, and that's when they'll rank people and decide who gets offered a spot. So I'll definitely keep you posted. And I was kind of nervous about talking about it online when I first mentioned me wanting to go back to school at the beginning of the year. I was like, maybe I shouldn't be jinxing it because it's not guaranteed that I'll get to go back. And what if I don't get in? But I feel like people always, it's very hard deciding what you want to talk about online because I want to be really honest and really transparent, but I only share such a small fragment of my life that it's kind of hard to decide what it is that I'm going to put online. And I thought, if I don't get in, it's going to be embarrassing that I've been talking about it for 6 months. But I realized that at the end of the day, if I don't get in and I fail this attempt, then I share with you guys that experience. And there's nothing wrong with failing. I think it doesn't determine who you are. What I think says a lot more about someone's character is how they react to failure and whether they choose to get back up on the horse or stay down. So, whatever happens, I'll be excited to share it with you, but please keep your fingers crossed for me because it is something that I would definitely love to pursue in the fall. And now that my rant is out of the way, let's get into some of your Hermes questions, the questions that you actually came here for. So the first question here is, what are your thoughts about the return of the Jean Paul Gaultier shoulder Birkins, which I talked about these bags. They are being relaunched in 2 different sizes, in size 29 and 39, both of which are slightly smaller than the original shoulder Birkins that were indeed designed under Jean Paul Gaultier's creative direction. So those bags are coming back for this current spring-summer 2024 season, which I talked about in my last What's New from Hermes update. So if you'd like to hear more about that and see what other bags are launching at the same time, I will make sure to have that video linked up here for you. Personally, it is not my favorite Hermes design that I have ever seen. I don't really enjoy these elongated shapes, which I think, I can never remember the term, but I think they're called east to west bags, which this is. I mean, I guess it is kind of an east to west bag. It just basically looks like a Birkin 40 that was chopped in half, and you're getting the top part of the bag. Now, one thing that I didn't mention in my What's New from Hermes update when it came to this bag is that I think the original shoulder Birkins featured the HAC hardware, which is a little bit more chunky and more robust than what you are used to seeing on a Birkin. But I think the new shoulder Birkin will feature the classic Birkin twist closure, which is just a little bit more delicate and refined. I think that is another difference, as well as the size and also the different finishes that this bag will be available in. If you're looking for a really casual grab and go take on the Birkin, I think this is something you will really enjoy because they're not only more elongated and more compact than a Birkin, but the big difference, which is where the name comes from, is the length of the handles. The handles are a lot longer, which means that you can actually put them over your shoulder, which I don't think a lot of people would be able to do with a regular Birkin. I mean, I guess with a larger Birkin, if your arms are very, very thin, you might be able to do that, maybe with a Birkin 35 or a Birkin 40, but not a lot of people would be able to get those handles over their shoulders. So if you're looking for something really casual, really laid back, something really utilitarian, this is something that you might enjoy. Personally, it's not my cup of tea. I personally find my interest in Hermes have decreased when now everybody wants it, which is an interesting point. I kind of feel the same way. For me, when I spend so much money on something, I want to make sure that I get something special, something really unique that I will not see on every other person, which I completely understand. Hermes is still insanely expensive. It is still, just kind of inaccessible for so many people out there. But I feel like when I go luxury shopping, when I go to nice restaurants, these are definitely things that I see a lot more often than I used to. And also another thing is that I have been buying Hermes for, over a decade. So it's normal that we go through ups and downs, our taste changes, our aesthetic changes, what we're looking for. We always want something new and something novel. So it makes sense that we would want something a little bit more fresh and cool. But at the end of the day, I do really still appreciate Hermes for its quality, even though it's not as close to my personal aesthetic as it used to be. And then another thing that I have to point out here is that it's kind of hypocritical for me to sit here and say that, Hermes has become so overdone and so often discussed when I've been sitting here for the past 4 or 5 years talking about Hermes twice a week. So, I'm definitely part of the problem here, but I still think that Hermes's quality is just outstanding. It's something that is incredibly hard to beat, but if you no longer feel like that you are drawn to Hermes, there's nothing wrong with it. Hermes is not the be-all and end-all of luxury. They do some beautiful things, but I think this over-glamorization of Hermes is something that needs to go. If you don't like Hermes, if you don't like the way, let's say, a Birkin or a Kelly looks, it doesn't make you any less of a luxury lover or any less successful. I feel like some of these things have become a status symbol, that you are only considered a successful, established luxury collector if you have all of these bags in your collection. But if they don't suit you, if you don't like the way they look, if you don't get any use out of them, or you couldn't get any use out of them, why waste your hard-earned money on them? I think it is insanely irresponsible from a financial point of view. My advisor is leaving. How to make sure I get a new good SA? So I would probably ask for your current advisor's recommendation, because they know you well, they know your taste, they know your style of communication, they know what pieces you're looking for. So I would probably ask them to match you up with one of their colleagues, because they not only know you, but they also know their colleagues the best. So, if you buy a lot of jewelry, they might recommend that you go with someone who is responsible for the jewelry métier, because if you didn't notice, each and every single advisor at Hermes has their own dedicated métier that they are responsible for, or their own métier that they are experts on. So if you buy a lot of jewelry, they might want you to start shopping with someone, or they might suggest that you start shopping with someone who knows the jewelry métier inside out. If you buy a lot of ready-to-wear, it would make sense for you to go to someone who really knows Hermes is ready-to-wear, but I would definitely ask for your advisor's suggestion and just ask them if they could help you get familiar with some of their colleagues and who they think you would vibe with the best. I got my first Birkin/Kelly appointment. What to expect? Well, congratulations. I assume you got your first appointment to put in a wish for one of these bags, which a lot of Hermes boutiques at this point work with wish lists, meaning that they ask some of their more valued clients to go into the boutique and submit a wish for the bag that they are hoping to get that season or that year. My current boutique also has the same system, so I think I will be going in to put in a wish pretty soon. And basically you would just, I think these days most boutiques will do it on their app, so they'll do it in their iPhone, not even on iPad, but I think your advisor will do it in their iPhone, because the idea is that one day, once the Hermes system is fully connected and it's all encompassing, you should be able to walk into any boutique and they should be able to see your wish list, but that is currently not the case. So don't think that you can put in a wish and it might be delivered by another boutique, because that is not the case. But I do think that's the direction, or at least the idea that Hermes had with starting this wishlist system that is very closely attached to your purchase history. But anyway, you will be asked to put in a wish. You can choose what style of bag you'd like. You can choose the color, the leather. Your advisor will walk you through the exact steps. But I would say try to be, if there's a specific bag that you have in mind, try to be as specific as you can be, because in the app, I think you can only choose 2 different styles, 2 different leathers, and 2 different colors. You don't have unlimited options. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you will only be considered for those bags that you put on your wish list, but they'll probably consider you for those bags or bags along the same lines. So try to do some research on what bags you would like to add to your collection, and don't be surprised if they ask you for specifics like size, like color, like leather, style, and so on. But it is definitely really exciting, and I hope the experience will be everything you have dreamt of. Next, luxury dream vacation. What an interesting question. I would definitely love to go to Japan sometime soon. It's not set in stone. I don't have anything booked, but Japan I would love to check out, and there's a specific hotel where I would love to stay in Japan. I am planning on going to Stockholm because I've never been to Stockholm, even though I love the design, I love the food, I love the culture, I love the architecture in Stockholm. So I would love to go to Stockholm. I think that's probably going to be a spontaneous trip, and I've never actually done a solo trip. Well, at least I've never fully traveled by myself. I have spent time on my own when I was traveling, but I have never done a complete trip on my own. So Stockholm is something that I would love to do as a solo trip, maybe once I'm done with all my entry exams. And then, I love London. I don't know if I maybe lived in London in my previous life, but I have such a close connection to London, and I have not been to London this year. And I didn't even go to London towards the end of last year, which I love going to London around the holiday season. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be back in London sometime soon because it is one of my favorite cities. But in terms of going to new places, Japan is on my list, but I would only go if I could stay at all the hotels that I really want to check out. And then Stockholm, I think, is next on my places to visit. Do you know already the color chart for Special Order 2024? Thank you. I'm afraid I do not. I think the special order season starts in March or April, the spring season. So it should be out soon, the menu, but I will not know for a while. And when it comes to the color chart, I'm not usually that interested. I will definitely try to have a look or have a peek and share with you as much as I can, but it's not something that I would personally check for myself. But no, I don't think it is officially out yet. But as soon as the spring season starts, I think people will definitely start getting them. And if you are planning on getting a special order bag this spring or this fall special order season, please let us know in the comment section what bag you are planning on asking for. Fake Hermes on big resale platforms. I honestly don't know too much about this, but I would say I have done videos talking about my experience buying Preloved. I have never bought a Preloved bag, but I did buy a couple of smaller things Preloved. I shared my thoughts on where I would buy pieces Preloved, which places I would personally try to avoid. So if you would like to know more about some of my tips and tricks, I will make sure to have those videos linked down below for you. But what I can say here is that you should always do your due diligence. Make sure that you only buy from places that you 1000% trust, because no matter how good of a deal you're getting, if you're not just fully confident in what you're buying, it is not worth the headache, in my opinion. If you have a little voice in the back of your head always doubting whether what you purchased is authentic or not, just don't even go near those things, because I just really don't think it is worth it. And there are definitely some things to pay attention to when you buy something Preloved. When it comes to Hermes bags, the first things that come to mind is make sure that the piece doesn't come with any sort of card of authenticity. No Hermes bag will come with an authenticity card. The only thing that some bags come with, well, not some bags, but exotic bags, they will come with sides, which have nothing to do with the authenticity of the bag. It just basically states that the leather for the bag was ethically sourced and they didn't use any endangered species to craft your bags. And that's what you should use when traveling with exotic pieces. So that's something to pay attention to. If you're buying a contemporary Hermes bag that comes with a dust bag, something else that you can pay attention to is the Ex Libris logo, the Ex Libris emblem on the dust bag. That should be circled twice, not just once. That's another little detail that you can pay attention to if the piece comes with a dust bag. And then one more tip that I could give you really quickly is that if you would like to get your piece authenticated, the only place that I would personally trust is Hermes themselves, but you cannot just walk into Hermes with the piece that you purchased on the Preloved market or on one of the resale platforms. They will not be able to authenticate the piece on the spot for you. I think that's only so they don't have any legal liability in case they give you the wrong information. But what you can do is you can take your piece into Hermes and ask for the bag to be serviced, in which case Hermes will send the bag to their closest workshop or maybe even France, and a craftsman will look at your piece, they will inspect it, whatever needs to be repaired will be repaired on the bag, and then it will be sent back to you if it is indeed authentic, which, I mean, if a craftsman is willing to look at it, work on it, and repair it for you, I don't need any more proof that it is indeed the real thing. One thing to keep in mind is that if you're 50-50 and you're really not sure if your bag is authentic, maybe don't risk doing this, because if you send a fake piece to Hermes and you live outside of the EU, Hermes will not ship your fake piece back to you, because I think it is considered smuggling illegal goods, so they cannot be responsible for shipping fake pieces back and forth. So that might be something that gets destroyed. But if you just need that last seal of approval to convince you that what you bought is indeed real, I would definitely suggest taking advantage of the Hermes spa service. And I know it can be intimidating going into Hermes with a piece that you didn't buy directly from them, but please do not feel any shame about that. If you need this to confirm that what you bought is really authentic, just go through with it. It is going to cost you a little bit of money, but at the end of the day, you do get a piece back that was repaired, looked at, and inspected by an Hermes craftsperson, and you will also get a bag that pretty much looks brand new. We have some questions here from Kat. Kat was wondering, when are you coming to our luxury live show again? Anytime, Kat. I would be happy to come back anytime, so maybe I'll send you some dates after this video. And then another question that I got from Kat is, if you could only keep one Hermes bag, which would it be? It would be my Her bag. I know it's not a very popular answer. I know a lot of people don't like the Her bag, or they find that it's too basic, but if I look at my lifestyle and which Hermes bag I use most often, it is my Her bag. I just love my Her bag with a passion. I feel like it is the one Hermes bag that everyone could find a place for in their collections. And I do really like my Kelly 35, which I recently did a 7-year update on. So if you would like to see how an Hermes bag ages and wears, that might be an interesting video for you to check out. But I would keep either my Her bag or my Kelly 35 in black Togo, or also Kelly wallet. So I would probably choose one out of these three. Recommend first purchase from Hermes? Interesting question. Okay, let me think. First Hermes purchase might be an unpopular one, but, and it's kind of unexpected, but the first thing that I would invest in from Hermes is